When you look at an ancient Greek temple, what do you see? Just this majestic, timeless beauty, right? Well, it turns out that beauty isn't an accident, not at all. It's actually the results of a really precise architectural code, a set of hidden rules that dictated every last detail. And it was all in an effort to reflect what they saw as a divinely ordered universe. Okay, so let's dive into this and decode that formula for perfection. So, what is this hidden formula? I mean, how did these ancient architects create buildings that still feel so perfectly balanced thousands of years later? That's the big question we're going to tackle by looking at the specific rules they followed for their most iconic feature, the columns. All right, let's start with the big picture. The first part of this code is all about how you place the colonnades, which are, just long rows of columns. We're going to look specifically at how they're arranged along the sides of the temple's main inner room, which is called the naos. So one of the grandest options they had was the dipteral style. And what this means is that a double line of columns completely surrounds the naos. Just try to imagine walking into what feels like a literal forest of columns. It would have created this incredibly powerful and imposing effect, a real statement piece of architectural might. Now, what if you wanted that same grand look, but, you didn't want to take up quite so much space? Well, the Greeks had a super clever solution for that: pseudo-dipteral. The name literally means false dipteral. It gives you the impression of that double colonnade, but that inner row of columns is actually attached to the wall of the naos. Pretty smart, huh? So let's just break that down real quick. With the dipteral style, you have two complete, totally freestanding rows of columns. But with pseudo-dipteral, that inner row basically merges with the wall. It's a subtle change for sure, but it's a brilliant design choice that completely changes the entire feel and the flow of the space around the temple. And of course, there was the simplest option of all, apteral. This just means without wings, and it is exactly what it sounds like. No colonnades along the sides whatsoever. A much more restrained and simple design, especially when you compare it to the sheer grandeur of something like the dipteral style. Okay, so we've seen the big picture arrangements. Now let's zoom in to the next level of the code. And this is where the mathematical genius really starts to shine through. We're talking about the precise art of column spacing. The formal term for this is intercolumniation. And this wasn't just a matter of, what looked good to the architect that day. No way. This was a highly regulated system with very specific rules and measurements, all designed to achieve a perfect visual rhythm. And here's where it gets really elegant. The unit of measurement they used, it wasn't feet or meters or anything like that. The unit was simply d, which stands for the diameter of the column at its base. How cool is that? The column itself becomes the ruler for the entire temple. Every single space is relative to the column that defines it. It's a self-contained system. So this system was broken down into 5 distinct styles. Think of it like a spectrum. On one end, you have Pyknos style, which means dense columned. The space here is just 1.5 times the column's width. Then, on the complete other extreme, you have Areo style, or wide columned, with a huge gap of 4 diameters. And then, filling out the range in between, were cis-style, diastyle, and the all-important one, U-style. And you can really feel the difference when you see it like this. Just look at the tight, dense rhythm of Pyknos style at 1.5D compared to the wide, open, airy feeling of Areo style at 4D. And sitting right there in that beautiful middle ground is U style. These weren't just numbers to the Greeks. They were recipes for creating a very specific mood and aesthetic. So, okay, we've got all these options, from dense to wide. But remember, the Greeks weren't just building shelters. They were creating physical expressions of a perfect, ordered universe. They were absolutely obsessed with harmony, with finding the perfect balance in everything. So naturally, they didn't see these 5 styles as equals. Oh, no. They believed one of them was the absolute ideal. Among all the different mathematical possibilities, this is what they were searching for: the good style. The one that wasn't too crowded and wasn't too sparse, but was just perfectly, beautifully proportioned. The one that was, well, just right. And here it is. The ideal was U-style, which, and I love this, literally means the good style. Its spacing of 2.25 times the column diameter was considered the golden mean of architecture. It was the sweet spot. It provided strength, it had elegance, and it created a visual harmony that was considered absolute perfection. So the takeaway here is pretty clear. That breathtaking beauty of a Greek temple isn't magic. It's not by chance. It's math. It's a deliberate, logical, and incredibly elegant formula for creating perfection where every single element relates back to the whole in one harmonious system.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The Greeks had their use style. So, what about us? What hidden rules of ideal proportion do we follow in our architecture, our websites, our product design today? Once you start looking for them, I think you might be really surprised at what you find.